Okay, let's get started. Let's see. So let's go through a few things, I guess. Um, just maximize this for a bit. You guys hear me okay? It might be a little noisy. I got a 3D hub sorter and some spinners printing, so it might be a little noisier than usual. So I'll try to move this closer. Um, so basically, the nothing really big changed since the last time we streamed. So just kind of catch everybody up to speed. Basically, the last stream we were talking about um, this motor mount here. We were basically going with a I guess linear rail with the rod mount, the 10 millimeter rod mount coming out of the side here. Uh, and then the um, we reviewed the usage of this motor mount here in the last stream, and that we needed an idler for the other end. So I finished the idler this morning. So this is the idler design. Simple basically is just because from this side of the extrusion, it's going to return the belt back to the motor, and I still have to work on the belt mount for the carriage itself, which will happen today. But what's nice about this is that you could see it is a self-contained unit, right? You could take this whole extrusion, build the idler and the motor mount and the rails, and before you bolt it um, the assembly itself. So you could do all the tensioning and all the work off the frame, and then not have to deal with trying to work around certain things. The idler is designed for two flange bearings. You have the option of not using the flange bearings and going with regular M3 idler. That works as well. But I personally like using the flange bearings because it gives you a um, little bit more freedom, and the movement is a little smoother. So I tend to use two flange bearings in that spot. Um, the the idler itself is 20. I would say 35. It's 35 millimeter long. We're leaving a 5 mil gap behind the idler so that you can move it back to tension the belt. So basically, the belt holder on the carriage itself is going to be a straight through belt holder. It's not gonna have any tensioning mechanism. The tensioning is going to be done by moving the idler along the extrusion track here to get the proper tension. Because the 5 mil, that's about normally a GT2 belt. If I have one here, a normal GT2 belt Each teeth is about 2 millimeter in each step of the belt. So 5 millimeter is going to give you 2.5 teeth of adjustment. So you have the option of going with a little less. So, but then you lose a little. You lose the travel of the Y carriage itself. So um, it doesn't take long. I mean, what you do is you would you go and tighten up the belt and move the tension back. So it should be pretty good. 5 mil should be more than enough adjustment range for that. So let me get the top view here. You can see that the top view is we're using a 30 millimeter or 32 millimeter stepper. So basically, the clearance of this area is pretty good. So the the travel is going to be maximized for the entire length of this extrusion. So this is pretty much, I think, for now. The only piece I needed to make is the belt holder, and what's gonna also be, let me move it so we can see it in view. What needs to go here as well is I need to extend this Y carriage mount to have a trigger arm so that I could put the end stop here. So basically, when the carriage gets to the end, it's physically going to be stopped because the carriage ends there and it's going to hit the motor mount. But I want to kind of have it triggered before it hits the motor mount. So we're gonna, on the belt holder, we basically gonna extend that so that the end stop sits on this edge here, and the carriage coming across is going to trigger the end stop so that it doesn't physically make contact there, hit the end stop switch there. On this side, unfortunately, we can't have like we could have it, but it's more programming on the firmware to have a negative end stop for this spot. So we generally don't do that. What we do is after we home, we tell it what's the maximum travel, and then we will have it stop slightly before this edge here. So even if you can move it back to tension the belt, and you will stop somewhere along this edge here without hitting this mount. Also, I think what I mentioned last time too is these parts are now designed with printing in mind. So there's no, on this side there's no nut trap, because what I found was that having a nut trap made it more complex. We needed support to hold that nut trap in place, and so it just exposed that right there so that there's a washer for it to mount it on. So this edge would be the edge on the bed, so it's easily printable. So hang on a second. This was the printed piece that came off the last print we did, and you see it goes into the. This is the Y carriage mount that we showing here. The 10 mil rod goes in there, and it's pretty sturdy in there. And that's a 10 mil rod, so you can see how thick it is. It's not gonna go. There's not gonna be any deflection in this 10 mil rod. So the spider rides on this rod, so it's pretty good. I think the design works. So these 10 mil rods I got from Misumi. I think they were like $12 for 4. This is 400 mil, so it's quite a bit longer than the ones that we normally use. I guess the completely sort of like this, then it rides along the rails there. So it was looking pretty good. I mean, I think it's a lot more simpler than the way that Multimaker uses the multiple rods. So I think that works. So by the end of this weekend, we should have this whole assembly ready to go. So if I make the belt mount there, the end stop switch added to the motor mount, and then I'll order the extrusion and the rail and the carriage, and we should have a working model, a physical model next week of this kind of XY driven system. And once I built one and I've proven that it works and I'm able to get all the clearance and stuff like that, then I'll basically replicate it 3 times for the four sides, and then I could work with the crossroads. So I mentioned in the last stream is there was a sort of a hack that we're doing is that because this is a 10 mil rod, and the outside diameter of a LM8 UU is 12 millimeter. We're able to actually utilize the Ultimaker spider in place of building our own, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel sort of way. So the if this is the step files I got off of the Ultimaker 2 Plus, and basically on the Ultimaker 2 Plus, this will be the orientation. That there we go. They really have to fix this. There's really no easy way to do this. There we go. Basically, the top. This is the top where you'll feel the wires and the cross beams cross rod going to those bushings, and then the bottom here is where you would mount the Olsen block. So if I flip this, so you can see this is that this 12 millimeter OD 10 millimeter ID bushing fits exactly in this hole that normally you would put a LM8 UU across or a bronze bushing across. It works in this spot. So what that means is that I can actually adapt this hole to be a 10 millimeter hole, and have the cross rod come across here and come across the other direction. So pretty much any of if this proven works, basically that means that we don't have to build on spider. You will use the one from the Ultimaker, and then you could use all the different iterations of it. Like you have single, dual, quad extrusion. You have E3D ones. You have all the different configurations that you could use. Like you don't have to worry about making your own at that point. Everything is already done for you. So this is a good development that we're able to try that. So at least for the short bid, we'll try to make it work with the Ultimaker spider, and that will save us a few weeks of mucking around with it. In parallel, I would probably still work on a dedicated spider, but it's just the option is given to you guys that by keeping the rod spacing between this hole and this hole to be 18 millimeter, we are able to we keep our options open. So if this works or not, we're not really spending too much time trying to chasing the rabbit down the whole kind of thing. They on AliExpress, you can find these for like $14 injection molded, or you can find them for about $50, $60 CNC out of aluminum. So it is a good way to go either way. Let's see. This was an idle that I was showing you guys before. So this is the idle assembly where we put in the all the hardware. So you can see that things like the alignment blocks are now integrated into the bolt hole, so that they print neat nicely. You don't need support for these now, because the 1 millimeter is all you need to kind of align yourself into the hole correctly, and that 1 millimeter also makes it a little bit beefier, so that we're not having issues with the people hulking these down. So this came out pretty good. I mean, I did a loft on this, so that basically I didn't have to draw most of this. It's basically a loft. So if you guys I don't know if you guys seen the loft before, let me see if I could bring it back up. The best of them. So what a loft is that's a loft. So basically, they define the base, define the top, and it'll create the size necessary to transition from the bottom to the top profile. You can stack as many profiles you want, and it basically will draw the shape that's going to continuously connect all the profiles. So by using that, I'm able to sort of quickly adjust the height of this by moving the plane, and then also make adjusting the shape to get it so that I'm not always square, and it makes it an interesting shape. So I'm gonna test print these today and see how it works out. But like I said, these alignment blocks with the bolt holes, they work wonderfully. They don't need support at all to print because it only comes out 1 millimeter, and there's a 0.25 millimeter fillet on it, so it actually brings it in pretty nicely. They don't really need a lot of support for it. Like, you don't actually need support at all, as I say. So that was pretty good. We talked about this. We talked about this. Let's save it. Okay. So that's pretty much all the parts that's on this week. So the IGES XY carriage, the idler mount, and the motor mount for the XY. If we're able to use the Ultimaker Spider, that completes the whole XY assembly already. So I think Patrick was having some good progress on the SmoothieWare configuration. I think he's rewiring his Haribo to he's rewiring his Haribo to use the smoothie board. Oh yeah. Hang on. So did you hear a lot of noise on this side? Because somebody's assembling a lot of the spinners that we are putting up. So they can see that now. I think that's better. Haribo Cube Alpha Team number 0. So Donald was able to send me that. Thank you, Donald, for that. Gives me a little bit of motivation to actually get the machine going so I could put the badge on it. I have the Haribo 3030 number 0 on the other printer that's printing now, the one that's printing the poly wheels, and this is going to be number 0 for Haribo Cube Alpha. We're going to have the badges for beta and then the one for the release. So this is exciting. So next week, I think we're making good progress. Next week we're actually gonna order the parts. I got the Aztec X5 Mini and the X5 GT coming. The difference between the two, I think we talked about this last time, was I'm bringing it up so we actually see it while I talk about it. Basically the difference is that one has 5 drivers and the other one has 4. So that's the major difference between the two. So let's talk about the Mini first. This is the Mini, and the X5 Mini basically 4 drivers, so XYZ and the E0 for the extruder. The 2 dual MOSFET, one for the hot bed and one for the heated bed and one for the hot end. And onboard Ethernet, the Wi-Fi thing's optional on this one. And it's a very tiny board, and you use removable drivers that you could use the drivers from your RAMs or whatever it is, or you buy it from them. I ended up buying the drivers from them. I mean, you can kind of get an idea how big it is. Like if you look at like, let's see, go with this picture. That's the size of the Ethernet port. You can see it's tiny. The thing is really small. The other one I got just for testing is X5 GT. This one here. X5 GT gives you 5 steppers, so you're able to run an extra extruder motor, and it handles a little bit more current. Still, I think still one hot end though. So you might have to kind of deal with that. My dad is down here, so the Ethernet's not on board. It neither is Wi-Fi, so those are two boards you have to get separately. Um, let me think. Actually, no. It has two hot ends. I just noticed that hot end one, hot end two. So it supports the two heaters for the hot ends, and then so that works pretty well. For me, I'm probably not going to use the Ethernet myself. I'm still gonna be printing directly from the LCD. So the SD card is from the LCD. So that's not really wasn't really that big of a deal. But I did get the module anyway, just in case I needed it. Um, and I picked up the Vicky 2. I picked up two of these Vicky 2 displays because I like the fact that it has the red and the blue that light up, so I could glance at it and figure out what it's doing, and then the full graphic display is really nice, so I ended up getting that as well. Yeah, I'm hoping that I have different ways of doing it, but like I said, you don't have to get. I think I mentioned this last time. You don't have to get the LCD. You could use this one, which is a $1.50 cable, and then it allows you to use a cheap Chinese display. It won't use a smart one. You have to use the full graphics display. So there's two different ones. So we'll test that once it gets here. I think it ended up being 480 US for the two boards and the two boards, the two displays, and then a bunch of other stuff that I got, like all the drivers and everything. Then I just got a notice on DHL. It's going to be like $80 snow pesos to pay for the custom. So not really happy with that, but at least it's going to be like here like 2 days. So not sure if Patrick had to pay any if he had to pay for any of the customs on the order from Penucat. So what's drivers? So there's a few drivers that they were using. This is the X3, so let's look at the X5 for a second. Yeah, it's like $80. I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I wasn't happy about that. Guess you guys can't really read that. SD8825, based on the TI driver 8825, robust and runs cool, 132 micro stepping, 2.5 amp, 40 volt load, good choice for heavier motors. That's the one I went with. Some people were using the 5984, the first one, the Alago, because they like it with the fast decay feature. I'm not sure. I talked to Leslie about it. He basically said he recommended me to get the TI one, so that's what I did. I'll see. Patrick, which driver did you get? 5984. Okay, that's a good choice then, because we have a sort of a comparison, because you got 5984 and I got the 8825. I'm talking to Meta Hackers. Meta Hacker, they're gonna try to sell me the 6128. So we pretty much have all three covered. Okay, you got those two. So some people use a combination of two. Like they would use the 5084 for the XYZ and the TI for the extruder for some reason. So we could test that as well. When you do get the X5 Mini, make sure you get version 3, because version 2 has onboard drivers, and some of these places still have the old stock. So and also they don't have onboard Ethernet. So the version 3 is the one you want. If you get it directly from Penucat, it's going to be version 3. Some of the other places like MetaHacker still have some leftover version 2s, I think. So you gotta make sure you get the right one. Let's see, well, I've been kind of moving the Saturday stream a little earlier. I think 12 o'clock was a little late for even for European guys. So next weekend, I'm gonna aim for 11 o'clock. So basically 11 to 12, I think is a good time slot to move to, because then you guys in Europe will still be pretty early. After 12, I could go to lunch and stuff like that. So I think that works out for me. So I'm gonna move this to 11. The Wednesday stream, I think it's getting to 7 o'clock. 6:30, 7 o'clock is a little late. Like I know some of the European guys want to stay up for that. So what I'm gonna do is actually try to move that earlier to 6 if I could, an hour earlier. So if I could move it to 6 o'clock, then I will leave it at that. Um, let's see what else I want to cover. I gotta hang on a second. I gotta turn the fan down a little here. So when it's making these caps, I'll move the screen. Making these caps for my spinners, the the hot end doesn't keep up well enough with the speed, and I kind of have to crank up the temperature and lower the bridging speed, because it's bridging the gaps on the caps themselves, and a lot of times it will get a thermal runaway. So I've been having all sorts of issue with the new firmware, so I might go back to the old one. The thermal runaway seems to be a little bit more aggressive on this one. Uh, like I think out of 5 times, 3 times I would get a thermal runaway if I don't. I'm not here to adjust the settings. Um, what else am I going to cover? Um, so you guys can't see it, it's off the side, but I swapped one of the D bots for the rigid bot back, because I initially sold the rigid bot, and the person putting it together, she plugged it in and it blew up. So I gave her one of my D bots, and I had to go and order a whole bunch of stuff for her to finish that install. And I got the rigid bot in the car. I'm gonna try to fix that. Probably gonna stream a little about that, because it'd be interesting to see how it shorted out and blew up the harness. So I might end up, like a lot of people end up rewiring and redoing that. So maybe that's a good platform for the one of the cheap smoothware boards. The platform is good, but this electronics is crap. So we're gonna have to deal with the electronics on that, and see maybe we could fix that, and then flip that back to her, and then we have she had multiple printers. There's a lot of cosplay stuff, so I think she needs 2 printers anyway. What else? I'm aiming to restock the MK42 clone board by end of the week, end of next week. So probably Thursday, Friday. There's been a lot of demand for it. It seems like after we came up with the flatness test, there's some demand for them now, and I think with the people receiving the Kickstarter and the Indiegogo boards, they were not happy with the flatness, so I think that they're kind of doing a comparison, and they're going to start going to our clone board. So it's not this been a sudden spike, so I'm gonna have to get more of that. Alpha, so Haribo Cube Alpha. I am going in limited to probably 5 to 10, depending on how much volume we need to test. 5 to 10 alphas. Pretty much all the slots are filled. Probably 1 or 2 spots left. I'll decide how we're gonna pick those for the testing. I'll start sending out the bomb. I think I'm working with T-Sun, Megan at T-Sun, to get the 60/60 and the 30/30 extrusion cut and drilled there as well as Masumi. Masumi is still going to be my supply here, but T-Sun is going to handle everywhere else, like in Europe and in Australia and stuff like that. Because getting from Masumi seems to be a little bit of trouble for those guys, so they could get from T-Sun. I'll get her the specs for the Alpha, and then you guys could get it from her. I don't anticipate the extrusion to change much from the Alpha to the final, so I think that's pretty good. It's just some of the parts may need adjustments. Licensing. So basically, I think I ranted enough about it already that the license is going to be Creative Commons by was it BY NCND. So attribution, non-commercial, non-derivative. So what that means is that you're able to get a copy from me. Period. Attribution back. If you want to put it up somewhere, it's attribution back to the Mattermost chat group, then the GitHub. You can't sell it and you can't derive from it. You could remix it. You could do whatever you want. Um, Changes you make, you could do pull request back and then we'll put it into the GitHub, but you cannot fork and use it. Unfortunately, I just feel that's the best way to do it. Um, and before anybody says anything, um, is 100. This is 100% my work, and I'm not basing it on anybody else's source file. So I'm able to put in as restrictive as I want. And I could actually then also make grant licenses separately from that. So we'll see what happens from there. I just don't want like us having to deal with people coming with different versions of the cube, and then we have to support it. That's basically it. I mean, we start seeing a lot of the guys from Scott's website and the Cerebral guys coming on to MetaMost, and then we're basically supporting their fork, and I don't think that's fair. I mean, they should run their own. They should run their own chat and their own support. If they're going to start selling it or start like commercializing it and putting a paywall, they should just deal with it. By limiting the distribution, I'm hoping that will cut down on the amount of work we have to do. I think a lot of the problems with buying it in Europe is that it really has to do with the VAT situation. I don't really think it's a personal or business thing. Is that they don't want to deal with the paperwork to deal with VAT and collecting tax and re-emitting it and stuff like that. So um, I guess if it's a high enough number that it's make it worthwhile for them to do that paperwork. But again, like unless somebody wants to deal with that, I'm not in Europe, so I'm not gonna have any access to deal with that anyway. And again, is really up to the individual to figure out how to get the parts. And we've been dealing with T-Sun, and they since our first few orders, we've been pretty good at it. So I think that for the European guys, that's probably what I would suggest is go with T-Sun. Um, Oh, but let's talk about the IGUS meeting for a bit. I mentioned that on our last stream, and I'm gonna call the rep up again this week and start ordering the parts, the linear rails and stuff like that. Um, I'm gonna see like about the rods and the steppers and so on. If we're able to get most of the stuff ordered this week for the um, from IGUS, then hopefully we could get a kind of like a bomb together for the alpha guys to start, because I think everybody's sort of on edge waiting for me to publish the bomb. Um, I'll start the GitHub this week and start putting up some info and start putting up the list of alphas, and then they can start ordering stuff. Um, I might not be responsive on chat for a while I work on kind of pushing the first release out. So if you need me for anything before Wednesday, just send me a message on Metamos. Um, Otherwise, yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm not like it's coming up to a little over half an hour. Just a quick update for you guys, and I think that's it. I'm gonna go and finish up some work, print out those parts and test fit them, make sure everything is okay, um, and go from there. But yeah, I'm happy with the rod mount. It works out pretty good. I mean, it's in there pretty good, and it won't like the tolerances is pretty good. The PETG prints out pretty well. So I think, like I said, is um, I think we're making a lot of progress. I think that we're doing pretty good. So Um, I will talk to you guys later then. Okay, see ya. If I can get two.